I hope everyone's having a wonderful morning. Back here at the sawmill today. Um, got a few things I want to try to get done. I got a lot of stuff cleaned up, and I did, as you've seen in the last video, if you haven't watched it, go back and watch it. We did get the old Detroit up and running, so I'm thankful for that. This morning and today, I would like to get a little sawing done. I want to try everything out. So I got the grease gun up here. I'm gonna grease everything, but first I need to fix up my log deck area. So I had to take a lot of it out, and I'm gonna show you. As you can see, I got the center block dry stacked up. That's the way they're gonna stay for the moment. I'm eventually gonna fill those full of concrete. But I do need to put a couple boards in here so I don't fall through the hole, because knowing me, I will. And but so what I need to do, I'm actually going to take my chainsaw and I'm going to notch out those posts on each side so that I can put a board across through there, bolted back, and then those, which are old mobile home I-beams, are actually going to sit right on top. So this block section is actually a little bit higher than that one. I'm going to shorten this one, is what I want to do. I want to take a little bit off of that block and actually cut the block. I think it's about 1.5 inches, maybe 2 inches that I'm going to take off. And then I'm going to cut this beam down right here and make it as a filler so that it has a little bit of wood cushion between the two, and it's going to sit just a long ways here. So that right there, those two beams will sit directly on top of solid boards all the way to the ground. Eventually I'm going to connect those two with a steel pipe. I got a couple old pieces of pipe. I'm going to connect the two, and what I'd like to do is fix up a pivot. So what it'll actually do is it'll actually pivot up and stand up, set back down. But for today, if I can get that board in, that block cut, and this sawed to sit on there solid, and everything greased, and then get the saw back to sawing to where I can at least do that, then I will consider today a win. Can't see. Okay, so that's what I'm going to try to work on today. I may get farther along the process. I may not get as far. I won't video the whole thing because my batteries are really bad on this old camera. So what I'm going to do is just bring you back in clips throughout, just showing a little few second clip as the stages progress, because like I say, to just set the camera up and go to work, my battery would last all of maybe 10 minutes, and then I'd have to get a new battery. If I take it in sections, for some reason it lasts longer. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. I got my chainsaw. I'm gonna get to work. So I had every intention on showing y'all a little more along the process, but my chainsaw fought me every bit of the way, which is probably my fault. It's not been serviced in quite a while, but made me mad a few times. So I cut them, and I ended up having to trim them with a handsaw. Thank God for old tools, ain't it? Anyway, this is what I got. I got it bolted in. I'm going to drill some holes, put some lag bolts in. This will probably be replaced as time goes, because as you can see, I got some surface rod. Now that does not go very deep. It probably only goes about right there, and the reason I know that is because I got a little bit on this side here too, and as you can see, it only just goes to right there for the most part. So all in all, I still got almost 3 inches, well, 2.5 inches anyway, of good solid board there. That being said, it will come off as time goes, and get replaced. I made it to where, I mean, guys, when you run a sawmill, it ain't nothing to saw a replacement board. The biggest thing is sawing one before it gets bad and going ahead and replacing them on a semi-regular basis. For those that swear white pine won't hold up. A good example, I don't know if you guys know it, but this box is completely out in the weather past that point. This chain drag box, and it holds the entire way to the end of that right there. Now granted, it comes back here, but all of that is white pine, every bit of it, and it sits out in the weather. But it gets wet, it dries. It gets wet, it dries, and it's up off the ground, so it doesn't consistently stay with bugs. For the most part, that has done extremely well. It's starting to just now, after 4 years of being out in the weather and holding all that weight, it's just now starting to take a dive in the front, and I'm probably going to have to replace it if I get sawing pretty heavy again. So it's likely to break. I have no doubt of that. But the only other option is to try to get a steel box made. Maybe out of a piece of channel or something. That would be nice. But, you know, actually, in some ways you're going to wear your chain quicker because it's metal against metal rubbing. Right now it's metal against wood, and for the most part it's going to hold up. A lot of that old time stuff, the reason it lasted so many years was because it was metal against wood, and the wood sort of acted as a easy slide for it. So it's kind of one of them things. Even if I had a metal one, I'd use the metal as structure, and I'd probably set the chain on a board. I'd set a board down in it, put the chain up on top of it. That way it didn't slide metal to metal. It's not as high speed, but still, that's the basic principle of it. But I'm going to get some holes drilled in this, get some lag bolts back in it, and then I'm going to go get my grinder. I may have to get the generator. I don't know if my solar panels has got enough battery. My battery is not very good, to cut one of those block. Once I get that block cut, then I may start greasing up the sawmill and put a little oil in it and see if we can't cut this beam down to match so we can set it on there and put those back in order. I think it's gonna work. I'm gonna go get my drill and stuff, bolt these in, then I'll come back. Alright guys, so I'm gonna do a little something a little different. I'm gonna actually saw this down to fit the shortest one. I'm gonna do a little work to it. Anyway, long story short, I got it all greased up. Everything's greased and oil. Everything's moving really well. It's surprising what a little bit of grease and oil will do. But anyway, I got the mill set up, so let's set you guys up and see if we can't get the old 671 fired off and run a pass and see what we can make this thing look like. All right.